It's time to tell my dark secret. This is my story. Sit back and listen. Hi, good day to everyone. My name is Michelle Douglas. I was born in Kent, England. My parents took me to Jamaica to live when I was about 7 years old. My early years in England are dimly remembered. Growing up in Jamaica was really fun and a bit of struggles. The first school I attended was Joseph Gang Primary School in St. Catherine. Afterward, I passed my exam and went to John Gibby High. That is when I learned that my parents was very strict, home right after school. At my 16th birth date, I met and fell in love with St. Auburn, a boy the same age as me. We kissed only once. News of that event got to my brother, he told my dad, and dad told my mom. I was sent back to England to stay with my sister.
Why can't Michelle open up to me? I am her man. She always does silly things that cause unnecessary arguments. I don't know how much more I can cope with this life. Why don't you talk to me?
In the past, the same thing had caused me to lose some very good men, and I really don't want to lose Jim. He means the world and all to me.
I could recall that fateful Thursday evening when I met Michelle at the money transfer in southwest London. She appears to be so happy. While I was at the teller, I said something to the teller, and she found it very funny. She was laughing. I waited outside the shop for her. As soon as I saw her, I said hi. She said hi between laughing. She said that was very funny in the shop. Where did you get that good sense of humor from? I told her I've just received it last night. She laughed again. Michelle was 5'6" tall enough for the average woman. She has chocolate complexion with pretty white teeth and oval face and a beautiful shape. On her rear end, round enough to stop any traffic on the street. Her breast size was 36 and her waist was 24 inches, shaped like a Coca-Cola bottle. She was casually dressed in a pair of blue jeans and a black t-shirt with the letters Jamaica written in green and yellow across her bust. I asked her, "What is your name and whereabout in Jamaica are you from?" She looked at me in a strange way and said, "How did you know that I am from Jamaica?" I laughed and pointed to her stomach.
My parents are from Jamaica, but I was born here in England. However, I grew up in Jamaica.
She asked where in Jamaica I'm from. I said Spanish Town. She said I knew Spanish Town well, and then she said I have to go. I asked her for her mobile number. While I was inserting her mobile number into my mobile phone, I reminded her that she never gave me her name. She said, "Oh, my name is Michelle, and what is your name, sir?" I told her my name is Jim. Right away, I dialed her phone number just to verify that the number she gave me was correct.
Jim, it's not you, it's me. There were times when I felt low and sorry. Earlier, I felt that mood came up on me. I didn't want to speak to anyone. That was why when you asked me why I didn't return your calls, I responded no with that attitude. Furthermore, you began to shout at me. That really upset me. I couldn't hold back the tears. I wish I could explain, but things were so confused in my head. I am going to try and explain to the best of my ability.
I love you. Whatever it takes, I'll be there for you. Shall I get you something to drink?
Yes, coffee, please. I have known Jim for some years now. Jim was 5'10" tall, dark skin, well built, has a small pot belly, which is not too big. I love his voice, not a coarse one, but a sexy one. He has the most gorgeous smiles. When he smiles at you, you could see his full sets of white teeth, except this. One thing which affected my relationship in the past. As I was saying, when I was 8 years old, I was molested. For the first time, Jim sprang up off the couch and shouted,
"What? Tell me you joking. Who done that to you, hun?" Pardon my expression. The reason why I shouted so loud was because I was so shocked. Sorry. Come on, talk to me, honey.
I just don't know if I can trust you again. My father was very domineering. He has some ways which I call controlling. If he doesn't get his ways, there would be an argument. I believe our father never loved us. My dad always spoke about us in a negative way, and he always pronounced his pregnancy on us before time. When my older sister was getting married, my dad refused to attend the wedding, even though he had suits to wear. Our dad would swear at us regular. The worst thing was when my smaller brother fell off the country truck. Peter fell off the truck on a busy road. I was scared when I saw him lying in the middle of the road. I jumped off the moving truck and fell on the road also. The minute my legs touched the ground, I fell over and sustained some bruise on my body. I could have damaged myself. All I was thinking was my brother who was lying in the middle of the road. I didn't think the driver saw when Peter fell off the truck. He had cuts all over his body, likewise me. The truck driver eventually stopped the truck further up the road, and some people ran towards us. The passengers on the truck suggested that we should go to the hospital, but we didn't have any money, and that was the last transportation going to our father's home. When we got home, my father took the road Dettol without diluting it and put it on our broken skins. It burned us. We were crying and wailing in agony. He just continued to use the Dettol on us. What he did to us as kids. My father was a strange man. I believe he was in some cult or secret society. One day I saw him tie 3 dogs to a post, and then he beats them. When they started to bleed, he loosed them, they ran. I don't know why he did this evil to the dumb animals. He never explained that to us. 2 days after that, my father and I went to the nearby farm to look for mango. I saw one of the dogs on the road. When the dog recognizes my father, it ran away. At age 5, we had chores to do in our home. I had to wash my own clothes. We were not allowed to have friends. We couldn't even go next door to play with our neighbors. Once we were in the home, we were kept busy cleaning, washing, and cooking, etc. The church and school were the safest place for me. When I'm away from the family home, I have full brothers, and they were very controlling. I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone on the streets. My brothers would take back news to mother, and she would ignore some of the news. But my father seems to make everything bothered him. He seems to fear that we may say something about his strange deeds. My dad always think that someone would harm us. We were not allowed to tell anyone our real names, except at church and school. We all had nicknames which we answered to. As a child, I was very unhappy and miserable. I used to keep a diary with all that had happened to me. But because I was scared, in case someone found it, I would destroy it after reading it 2 or 3 times. I used to cry a lot, eat chalk, and bite my nails. At school, I got involved in a lot of activities such as volleyball and basketball. I did not want to get myself into trouble. If I didn't do well at school, my mother would punish me, and her method of punishing was smacking. When we are home, we had to read books and be very quiet in the house. My mother had 10 of us, and she looked after us with not much support from our father. I can imagine how hard it was on her. She was strict, and I think whenever she gets stressed, she would shout and beat us for the simplest thing. My mother's always working to provide for the family, and to send us to school, she struggled to meet our basic needs. I used to wonder why mom stayed with my father for so long. One day I found the courage to ask her why she stayed there so long. She told me that she was afraid he might abuse us. She felt if she did leave him and went with someone else, she thought they may abuse us. I used to feel very sorry for my mother and always try to do what she told me to do. I want to make sure that I didn't stress her out. 2 of my sisters were always at each other's throat. One particular sister always got beaten from another. She was stubborn and would not listen to mom. Whenever there is work to be done, she tried to avoid housework all the times. One of my sisters used to like studying, and she preferred to read than to help us in the home.
I can see how that would cause tension.
This sometimes made it difficult for us because my sister and I still have to do her work around the house to avoid getting my mama upset. Although my mother would beat us, my father never hit us, but he was verbally abusive to us. Until today's words still linger in my head and mess me up emotionally. Sometimes I believe what he had said to us was true. I got negative without myself, feeling low and depressed. Sometimes I felt that no one likes me, including you. I don't have many friends and finds it difficult to keep friends. My friends always thought that I am strange. One occasion I overheard Shirley, one of my friends, said, "I can't understand her. She was referring to me, and that is why I stayed away from her." This upset me so much that I started to think that all my friends are like her. When I was 13 years old, I passed my exam and started to attend John Wassop Secondary School. My older sister, Marsha, was living in Spanish Town with her family at the time. Her husband was a very nice man. He gave us a lot of jokes and always talking to us about the love of the Lord Jesus Christ. On Wednesday evening, we went to prayer meeting at church. I was happy to leave the family home and lived with her. When I was 14 years old, I met and fell in love with this guy. He was 4 years older than I. He was a known bad boy in the community. The news was common that he has a gun. One day he showed me. When my brother found out that I was talking to this guy, he tried to discourage the relationship under disguise. He always said my ex was a bad man, and he is not good enough to be my partner. There were times when he would ask me not to say anything to my ex-boyfriend. He didn't want any trouble. The terrible experience is my sisters went to the movie with her boyfriend and my older brother went out. I was lying down on the bed reading a book. Then my father came into the room. He sat on the bed next to me, and then he asked how I was getting on at school. Before I could answer, he touched me on my leg. I could remember I was wearing a short skirt he brought for me and a t-shirt. From that day, I stopped wearing short skirts. At the time, I didn't understand what he was doing, but one thing for sure was terrible. He touched my breast and my private part. He was playing at me. And then he took my bird. I can remember asking him what he was doing. He said, "I am going to make you feel good." Then he had the bird his way. This continued to happen for years. Whenever no one was in the house, he would demand flying spots of his wish. Sometimes he would touch the bird in the most inappropriate places on his body. When I was he would call me when I went to see what he wanted. He would ask me to get him some water to drink. I had always tried to avoid talking about my relatives with you or anyone for that matter. I don't know if you had noticed that.
I have noticed that, honey, whenever you have to visit your relatives, you don't want to go alone. Whenever you talk to your relatives on the phone, it always ended with an argument, which upsets you a lot. And you never wanted to talk about it.
I felt that my mom didn't want any trouble, so she would keep quiet and allow my dad to have his way within the house. My dad was a very strange man. I learned years later he was part of a secret society. He used to do some strange and weird things. I could remember he catch a cat off the head and drain the sorrel into a drinking glass. He had a room in the house which was supposed to be for one of us. Only my uncle and my brother were allowed inside.
The brother that I'm talking about is now a madman. No woman, no children, and he's not up to date.
The truth is he looked like a rasta, but his locks is so unkept, likewise his clothes, not to mention the stench. One day I asked my brother what they do in the secret room at our house. He got angry and said that's none of my business. My brother used to look at me in a very strange way.
Honey, another day we will finish this discussion. I know you're worried. I'm right here.
Thank you, Jim. I needed this.
Always.